Planners and bullet journals, art projects organized, planner chic.
Well, hello, Planner Babes, and welcome to Organized Planner Chic. I'm Lucinda, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so and select the bell for notifications. I publish 1 to 2 recorded videos per week on planning, junk journaling, craft room organization, and related shopping hauls. I also post an additional live video most weeks. And I want to thank all my Patreon members who help make it possible to create videos like this. Well, thank you guys so much, and if you're interested in supporting me on Patreon, just go to patreon.com/organizedplannerchic. Well, okay, Planner Babes, it's time to start talking about some bullet journal pros and cons. So I wrote down several things, and I'm one bullet journaler. Someone else might have some other ideas, but this is just from my point of view from my years of bullet journaling. So we're going to start off with the obvious, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in detail, and that is that you can use anything. So of course you've probably heard you can use one pen, and you can be as simple as a spiral notebook, which is absolutely true. And I just wanted to say about that, if you're thinking, oh, that doesn't seem very creative to me, if you're an artistic person, you probably already know, if you're an artistic person, that you can make incredible, beautiful art on lined paper from a spiral notebook. I have seen incredible, amazing stuff. So if this is kind of your venture into creativity in terms of art and planning, absolutely go for it. You'd be amazed if you've been thinking about that. But beyond the spiral notebook, of course, there's a composition notebook. So if you're maybe feeling like a spiral notebook just looks a little too much like spiral school, you know what I'm saying? Well, a composition notebook kind of has more of a feel of a typical bullet journal because of the way it's bound. You don't have the rings, although you can plan and you can journal and something with rings to your heart's desire. But if you're kind of feeling like you want to have something that looks more like a notebook and really be budget friendly, then the composition notebook can work for you. And speaking of the spiral notebook, back to school season, 10 cents, 15 cents a book is absolutely a benefit if you're really looking for a budget friendly option. And then a blank notebook. I see blank bound books, or sort of like sketchbooks, and sometimes they're more for journaling, but I find those at the thrift store all the time. So you don't have to have lines, of course, and then you can have dot grid, or you can have regular grid paper. Regular grid paper that you buy for back to school is a little more expensive, but still it's cheap when you're speaking in terms of a notebook, right? You can also just create one with paper that you staple together. It could be grid or dot grid or blank paper or notebook paper. The possibilities are endless. You can also use a traveler's notebook. It's a great avenue also for bullet journaling and for breaking up your collections. And you can do that on blank paper, on dot grid paper, on graph paper, what have you. And sometimes you can find inserts that have the calendars in there and also have grid or blank paper in between the different weeks. And that way you have your calendar part already taken care of if you're interested in doing that. You can also combine your bullet journal with a regular calendar. So you could have your calendar and just have it tied around your bullet journal so that you don't have to do a new calendar drawing every month if that's something you're interested in. And then if you're doing the traveler's notebook, then you can also have a completed calendar with your other pages that you're bullet journaling in. And then some planners also, like I said about traveler's notebooks, there are some planners that have the calendar built out and the weeks, and then they've got several pages of dot grid in between, or they've got dot grid pages in the back, and then you can do some bullet journaling on that as well. You can also use Hobonichi weeks. You guys, a lot of people are actually bullet journaling these days in Hobonichi weeks. All right, so now I'm going to show you some of the different products that I have used to bullet journal over the years. So I first started bullet journaling in traveler's notebooks that I made, and this was the biggest size that I made, which was 8.5 by 11 sheets folded into different inserts. And so that was my very first experience. And then I started using A5 notebooks that are designed for specifically bullet journaling. And then I experimented. They're all experiments. They're all things that I enjoyed and have gone back and forth in. And so this is another size that's not as wide. There, see how much additional space is in the A5 size. So I've done this size, and then I've also just done some stitch bound little notebooks that are A5 size. And then I have done some A5 size traveler's notebooks. This one was actually a traveler's notebook, and I took out the elastic to make it a, can't think of what you call that, but just where you have the sleeves like this, a folio. And so I've done that, and that was actually the first half of 2021. And then I've done my favorite, which is a pocket size traveler's notebook. Okay, you guys, number 2 on the pros is you can make it look any way you want. And I know that's obvious, but something I wanted to point out about that is you can also change it up at any point in time, even during the middle of a month. So, sometimes things change in your life in the middle of the month, and you might realize, I think there's something else I need to track, or there's something else I need to add, or I want to do some kind of freehand journaling at certain points in here, or you just want to change the decoration if you're doing that, or just you feel like there's something that you really need to emphasize for the future. So that is one of the blessings for me with bullet journaling, is I used to always have trouble at just trying to find something that really fit what I needed to do, which is a little bit easier these days because there are some planners that have some blank pages in between and some dot grid pages and that kind of thing. But still, I would have trouble trying to find something that really fit what I needed to do or gave me the room for details that I needed to add. And some planners are great for that. They have enough room for certain people and they can work within those bounds. And in fact, it's better for them. But for me, it just works so much better for me to be able to do what I need to do for me and not have a line or a box or words or pages that are interfering with it. And you can also decide whether or not you're going to have all of your calendar in the front and then have your months and weekly pages after that, or if you're going to have month spread, weekly spread, daily spread, etc. If you're going to have collections in the back, I mean, all those different things that are pre-organized in other planners, you can really decide all of that for you. And then you can also decide, I don't know if people really think about this sometimes, but let's say you don't really like the pages in this journal that you bought. Maybe you bought a journal specifically for bullet journaling. Maybe you bought some of the ones that are really popular and you found that you didn't like the paper, or you didn't like that they weren't numbered, or the dots were too close together, what have you. You can switch it up at any time. Of course, you can switch any planner up at any time, but I just want to encourage people to know that you don't have to stick with that book for 6 months or a year. You can switch it up and still just keep the one that you have for the period that you worked in it so that you can reference it later. And also, you can change to, say it's a traveler's notebook, you can always change that cover. If you just want a different design to work with, then you can change that cover and still have the same pages that you're bullet journaling in, or you can switch out a notebook and then that's inside your traveler's notebook and pick it up with a different one. You can do that. You can always change up your design. And don't forget that you can also, at any point in time, switch to a regular planner. So sometimes that's something that you need to do for a season. And here are some examples of where I've changed things up. So in January, I did this whole month the same way, this type of calendar, my to-do list, my gratitude journal, and then these pages, these weekly pages like this that had a little Dutch door at the bottom. And then you could flip it like that and like this, which was really cool. And I love looking back at how this looks. And then just a project, I just added some things I needed to work on. And I did that through the exact same way until I got to the middle of March. So on the 9th, I change and I start doing more writing out journaling, freehand journaling. And then I have this vertical Dutch door. Yeah. And everything's continues like that for a while. This one went from March to June of 2017, and I also marked all of the months with little tabs that I made, but they all have the title page index for the whole thing. And then I have the monthly tracker like this, and then I have this column here for weekly goals and notes, and then I have the days broken up that way with morning, day, night, and then meal plans down at the bottom. So it's a totally different from 2017, and the other one that we looked at was from 2020. And I used a lot of stickers, some that I printed and some that I made. And that is pretty much the whole style for all of this one. And I had to cover up some personal stuff. Full of color, but some of the stuff changed here. So you see there's no meal plans anymore. And it's got business and personal. So it changed up like that. There's no more meal plans on here. And then this one just looks totally different. Got gratitude over here, scriptures and weight and all of that. And so things can change up all the time. And then down here we've got gratitude. Yeah, see back here in the front, we didn't have any of that. Here we just had the full calendar days. So you can change it up as much as you need to. Use stickers or not. Yeah. And I definitely want to remind you that it can be purely functional, or it can also be functional and decorative. You don't have to do it one or the other. But you can do one or the other if you want. So if you're a person who just doesn't have time to do the decorating, or you're not a decorative person and you feel like bullet journaling isn't for me because everything that you see out there is all colorful or all elaborate, you don't have to do that. Be sure and check out the bullet journal method videos, or read the book, or watch anything on YouTube by the original creator about bullet journaling. All he uses is one notebook, a notebook, and a pen. So you can definitely do that, but you can make it quite decorative. So also, you can change during the season. So I've had to do that. I shared some examples of that where I've even set it up, maybe set up the pages for a month or set it up for a week. And then I just had a crazy season and I could not decorate it. And so I just accepted that. I can't decorate right now. I don't have time to create art in these pages because life happens. And so you can go back and forth between purely and functional and decorative. And you can also go back and forth between a bullet journal and a regular planner at any point in time. We've talked about that, but it's always an option. Don't feel like you have to stick with this if it's not working for this season and that you can't change it up. And here are some examples where I have been purely functional, and here are some where I've been both functional and decorative. Now this was from the first half of 2021, and it is in a Hobonichi plain notebook. And this is a great example of where I didn't have time to use this template for planning anymore. And you see I went through May and then I just stopped because it just wasn't going to work. And then this part, the car maintenance, the wish list, and a lot of my other collections, my future log, they're really conservative. Pops of color here, but overall just very minimalistic. And it gets a little bit busier here because I was trying not to use too many pages, but everything changed a bit. And then very colorful for the months in here. And I started doodling, I think it was in May, for the monthly on the monthly calendars. Yeah, but didn't finish that month because, you just can't do everything. And in the second half of 2021, I started bullet journaling in my everyday carry wallet, which has the first two sections for my IDs and money. And then I've got some different craft folders and everything. And then I set up a future log in here. And I started doing monthly pages in July. And so this part with the monthly pages has some color, but then you'll see where I got busy and I stopped doing that for a little while. So pretty journal or pretty doodling, but then somewhere in here, see, I started doing a little bit less coloring, a little bit less doodling and stickers, and then didn't even do anything on that side. And I know that happened a couple of times. So here's some seasons where all you got time to do is write stuff out. No time to decorate. I needed things to be minimal. Yeah, and I did most of this month for doodles, which those are pretty cute. Yeah. And then I didn't do any monthly doodles this month, but everything functioned really well, exactly like I needed it to, but I did a little bit of decor in here. And so overall, see, there's another week. No time to decorate. And lastly, on the pros, it is a great reference tool and a great thing to look back on. So I have definitely used my bullet journal in the past about something that I needed to remember or something that I needed to look up, why we did that, how much we paid for it, what was the situation going on at the time, and what have you. And I knew it was in one of my bullet journals. And a lot of times I could go straight to the bullet journal that it was in, or at least I knew what year it happened, because sometimes I need to go back and find something that happened years in the past. So it is a great tool for that. Now I know you can do it in other planners as well, but usually you don't have as much room to do a lot of detail. So that way, anything that was going on or that I recorded about whatever that might have been, I know is in my bullet journal. Also, it's great just to look back on to reference what was going on in your life at the time. If you did some little journaling in there as well, what did you journal about? What was your mood if you're doing a mood tracker? Your health, if you're tracking any particular area of your health. It's just a great tool, and it's great to take with you to the doctor's office also. And then it's just great to look at your art if you used it for any type of art in the past and see what kind of art you did and if you've improved since then, which definitely I did. I hadn't done art in years before I started bullet journaling. And now when I look back at some of my previous things, I'm like, wow, I hadn't, you could tell I hadn't done it in a long time. And then when you see it today, it's like, or, whenever I do art today on a regular basis, which I do, but I don't do as much in my bullet journal, then I'm really amazed at the difference. To state the obvious yet again, with a bullet journal, you have to write everything out, draw all the boxes, whatever you're going to do, you have to create it. And except if you actually purchase someone who set it up. There are some people who make it available. I think it's available on Etsy, and I've seen it somewhere else. I can't remember where, but that you can purchase it already developed, or at least portions of it already developed. And for me, that doesn't work because, again, I need to be able to do whatever I need to do at that point in time. And I don't know what that's going to be from one month to the next. But if you do it traditionally, then you have to create everything. In some seasons, you just don't have as much time in your life to do that. And you want to be able to bullet journal, but you just don't have a second. You could have a death in the family, or you could be dealing with some illness, or you could just be overwhelmed with something on your job or in your community or your church and so forth, and you just might not have the time to really do that. And so the good thing, though, that we talked about before is you can always switch from that. You can always switch from bullet journaling to getting a traditional planner. It can be a simple $1 planner from Dollar Tree that lets you do what you need to track what's essential during that difficult time in your life. Now, for some people, especially if you're a perfectionist, that can be a little daunting. You can feel defeated by the fact that you couldn't keep up with your bullet journal. And I just want to encourage you to not feel that way. Tell yourself that that's not important. What's important is that you can plan and organize your life for your benefit and for your overall health and wellness. So that is okay, all right? But that can be hard. Also, number 2 is that an A5 size can be overwhelming. That has been that way at different times for me, and you can feel the need to fill up the space, even though you know you really don't have to fill up the space. You can feel that you do, and what satisfied that for me is going with the smaller size. So right now I'm bullet journaling in a traveler's notebook, and it's a pocket size, and it is perfect for me. In fact, I don't know if I'll ever go back to a standard size or A5 size anything again. So that's something to keep in mind. And the last con that I came up with in my personal experience was that you can feel the need to compete with all the other people that bullet journal and what they do, and then you lose the whole point of bullet journaling, because there's a lot out there to look at all over YouTube and Instagram, and they're beautiful, and even a lot of the ones that are just totally minimalistic are gorgeous, to me anyway. And I have had seasons where I've been very minimal, and then I have sections that are very minimal right now. And so I still think they're gorgeous. And then sometimes people are tracking certain things, and then you feel the need to track that thing. And then you realize, I don't need to track this thing, and I'm spending too much time tracking this thing. So it can be challenging if you're not really sure of yourself, and if you're not comfortable with what you know you need to do for you, and you're not chasing whatever is going on right now out there in society that we can all look at it and ooh and ah. So be really careful and just encourage yourself to do what's best for you. Look at the other things to enjoy them, because they're inspiring and beautiful, and sometimes they can encourage you to do something that you really do need to do. But try not to get into the trap of being like everybody else. Well, before we close today, I want to let you guys know that I am on Instagram at Organized Planner Chic, where I post all of my creative ventures and adventures. I also have 2 Facebook groups. The one for anyone around the world is called Organized Planner Chic Crew, and the local one is called Phoenix Planner Friends for Christ. Well, I hope today's video helped some of you decide whether or not to become a bullet journaler and enjoy this awesome way of planning and organizing and creativity with the rest of us. You guys are such a blessing. I really appreciate you and all of your support. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and comment and share. It really helps my channel a lot, and it tells the YouTube algorithm to recommend my videos so we can grow our YouTube family. You guys continue to pray for me, and I will continue to pray for you. And until next time, everyone, happy planning.